The stadium was electric with excitement as thousands of fans cheered, their attention temporarily shifting away from the game to focus on a man standing nervously on the big screen. Holding a microphone in one hand and a small velvet box in the other, he looked around at the sea of expectant faces before his eyes settled on the woman sitting in the crowd. This wasn't just a game night, it was a night he had meticulously planned for weeks. The devoted boyfriend, whose name was Ryan, had arranged a grand proposal that he hoped would be remembered forever. Ryan had been dreaming of this moment for months, envisioning it as the ultimate romantic gesture that would not only cement his love for his girlfriend Emily, but also show her how much she meant to him. He wanted the world to know just how deeply he cared for her, and in his mind, nothing said forever like a public proposal in front of thousands of witnesses. Emily, however, was not the type of person who sought the spotlight. Reserved and introverted, she often preferred quiet moments to grand displays. Despite their differences, she adored Ryan and had always admired his outgoing, larger-than-life personality. What Ryan didn't fully understand, though, was how much Emily valued privacy and personal space, something that would soon come into sharp focus as the night unfolded in a way no one expected. The scene that followed would leave the entire stadium speechless, sparking debates, headlines, and conversations around the world. What began as a romantic gesture of love and devotion became something entirely different. A moment of raw honesty, vulnerability, and heartbreak that none of the spectators could have anticipated. Ryan and Emily's relationship began in the most unassuming of ways. They met at a coffee shop 2 years ago when Ryan accidentally spilled his drink on her laptop. Embarrassed but quick to act, he insisted on buying her a replacement and spent the next hour apologizing profusely. Emily, charmed by his earnestness and wit, forgave him easily, and their conversation that day stretched well beyond the bounds of a simple apology. By the time they parted ways, Ryan had her number, and Emily couldn't stop smiling. From the beginning, their relationship was a study in contrasts. Ryan was outgoing and spontaneous, the kind of person who thrived on attention and loved to make big, bold gestures. Emily, on the other hand, was thoughtful and reserved. While she appreciated Ryan's energy, she preferred quiet nights at home or small, intimate gatherings with close friends. Their differences, however, complemented each other. Ryan pushed Emily out of her comfort zone, encouraging her to try new things, while Emily helped Ryan slow down and savor life's quieter moments. Over time, their connection deepened. They bonded over shared interests like hiking, cooking, and their mutual love for music. Emily admired Ryan's charisma and passion, while Ryan found Emily's introspection and quiet strength deeply grounding. To everyone around them, they seemed like the perfect couple, different in many ways, but deeply in love. However, as their relationship progressed, subtle cracks began to appear. Ryan's tendency to go all out for special occasions sometimes left Emily feeling overwhelmed. Whether it was extravagant surprise parties or impromptu weekend trips, Ryan's grand gestures often clashed with Emily's preference for simplicity. Though she never voiced her discomfort outright, her hesitations hinted at deeper feelings that she kept buried. For Ryan, the proposal was a chance to create a moment that Emily and everyone else would never forget. He wanted to make it as special and unforgettable as possible, so when he heard about an upcoming game at their local stadium, the idea struck him immediately. What better way to declare his love than in front of thousands of cheering fans, with the big screen capturing every second of the proposal? In his mind, it was perfect. Ryan began planning weeks in advance. He reached out to the stadium staff, securing permission to use the PA system and the big screen for his proposal. He enlisted a few of their mutual friends to help coordinate, asking them to ensure Emily was seated in just the right spot. He even rehearsed what he would say, refining his speech until it felt just right. As the day approached, Ryan's excitement grew. He imagined the look of surprise on Emily's face when he got down on one knee, the roar of the crowd as she said yes, and the flood of congratulations they'd receive afterward. To him, this was more than just a proposal. It was a celebration of their love, a moment that would go down in history as one of the best nights of their lives. What Ryan didn't realize, however, was that his vision for the proposal wasn't aligned with Emily's personality or preferences. While he saw it as a grand romantic gesture, Emily might see it as something entirely different, something that would test the very foundation of their relationship. The night of the proposal was electric. The stadium was packed with fans, their cheers and chants echoing through the air as the game played out on the field. Ryan and Emily were seated in the stands, surrounded by friends who were in on the plan. Emily had no idea what was coming. As the game paused for a brief intermission, the announcer's voice boomed over the PA system, directing everyone's attention to the big screen. "Ladies and gentlemen," the voice said, "we have a very special moment coming up." The camera panned to Ryan, who was now standing with a microphone in one hand and a small velvet box in the other. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause as Ryan addressed Emily, his voice trembling with excitement. "Emily," he began, his words amplified across the stadium, "these past 2 years with you have been the best of my life. You've made me a better person, and I can't imagine spending the rest of my life with anyone else. So tonight, in front of all these people, I want to ask you." He dropped to one knee, opening the box to reveal a sparkling engagement ring. "Will you marry me?" The crowd's cheers grew louder as the camera zoomed in on Emily's face. The entire stadium seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her answer. For a moment, Emily froze. Her face, now projected onto the big screen for thousands to see, was a mix of surprise, nervousness, and something else. Something that wasn't quite the joyful excitement everyone had expected. The crowd, still cheering, didn't seem to notice the hesitation in her eyes. But Ryan noticed. Kneeling before her, ring in hand, he realized that something wasn't right. Emily's hesitation stretched into an awkward silence as the cheers around them began to fade into confused murmurs. Emily's hands trembled as she brought them to her face, clearly overwhelmed. "Oh my God," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the noise. She looked at Ryan, then at the crowd, then back at Ryan, her lips pressed tightly together as if she were searching for the right words but couldn't find them. The crowd began chanting, "Say yes, say yes." Ryan glanced nervously at Emily, hoping the encouragement from the audience would ease her nerves. But instead of responding, Emily lowered her gaze, her expression full of conflict. The cameras stayed fixed on her, capturing every moment of her discomfort. Emily seemed torn between the pressure to give the crowd what they wanted and the need to be honest about her feelings. The weight of the situation pressed down on her, leaving everyone in the stadium on edge, waiting for her next move. As the stadium crowd eagerly chanted, "Say yes," Emily took a deep breath, her face pale with nervousness. She turned to Ryan, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Ryan," she said softly, her words barely audible at first. The crowd fell quiet, sensing that something was off. She looked him in the eye, and with a mixture of sadness and sincerity, she continued, "I can't say yes." The stadium fell silent. The fans, the announcer, even the players on the field seemed to freeze as her words echoed across the massive space. Ryan's face dropped in disbelief. His hand, still holding the ring, trembled slightly as he tried to process what he had just heard. Emily continued, her voice shaking but firm. "I love you, Ryan. I really do. But I'm not ready for this. There are things about myself I need to figure out, and there's something I've been keeping from you." The tension in the air was palpable. The crowd watched, mesmerized and stunned, as Emily revealed her secret. She admitted that she had been grappling with uncertainty in their relationship for months, feelings she hadn't shared out of fear of hurting him. She confessed that while she loved him deeply, she wasn't sure she was ready for marriage or the kind of life Ryan envisioned for them. "This is so hard for me to say," she added, her voice breaking. "But I can't start this journey with you when I don't even know who I am right now." The crowd, initially buzzing with excitement, now sat in stunned silence. Some people whispered among themselves, while others expressed visible shock at the unexpected turn of events. Emily's honesty, though heartfelt, was raw and unfiltered. For many, the moment felt unbearably awkward, but for others, it was an act of rare courage. Ryan sat frozen on one knee, his face a mixture of heartbreak and confusion. "Emily, what are you saying?" he asked, his voice cracking with emotion. She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "I'm saying I can't say yes, not like this, not here, and not when I'm still trying to figure myself out." Her words cut deep, not just for Ryan, but for everyone watching. The silence in the stadium was soon replaced by a murmur of reactions. Some spectators clapped, acknowledging her honesty, while others booed, upset that the fairy tale ending they had hoped for had crumbled. Meanwhile, the cameras continued to roll, capturing every second of the unfolding drama. As Emily stood, her face flushed with embarrassment and tears welling in her eyes, she turned to leave. Ryan slowly stood as well, the ring box still clutched in his hand. His face was a portrait of devastation, a mixture of sadness, shock, and humiliation. On the big screen, his emotions were magnified for the entire stadium to see. Some members of the crowd tried to offer their support. A few people shouted words of encouragement. "It's okay, man," or "You'll get through this." But others were less kind, expressing their frustration at the way Emily had chosen to respond. "Why couldn't she just wait until they were alone?" one person muttered, while another added, "That's so cold to reject him in front of everyone." Emily walked away quickly, tears streaming down her face as she pushed through the crowd. A few friends who had been seated nearby followed her, trying to comfort her, while others stayed behind with Ryan. The scene was chaotic, with emotions running high on all sides. Ryan remained standing in the same spot, still trying to collect himself. He looked around at the thousands of faces staring back at him and felt a deep pang of embarrassment. For someone who had planned this moment so carefully, believing it would be the happiest night of his life, the public rejection felt like a crushing blow. The cheers of encouragement he had imagined were replaced with murmurs of pity and awkward glances. The announcer, unsure of how to proceed, tried to shift the crowd's focus back to the game. "Well, folks," he said hesitantly, "let's give a round of applause for their bravery and honesty." The crowd responded with scattered applause, but the atmosphere was tense and uncomfortable. After a few moments, Ryan finally moved. His friends surrounded him, offering their condolences and reassuring him that it wasn't his fault. "You did your best," one of them said, patting him on the back. But Ryan barely heard them, his thoughts consumed by the weight of what had just happened. As the game resumed, the energy in the stadium was noticeably subdued. The proposal had become the night's defining moment, overshadowing the event itself. For those who had witnessed it, the scene would remain etched in their minds, a raw, unscripted display of human emotion that left everyone feeling a little more vulnerable. After the chaos of the stadium proposal, Emily retreated to the privacy of her apartment, needing time to process everything that had happened. In the days that followed, she felt a mix of relief and guilt. She knew she had made the right decision for herself, but the pain she had caused Ryan was undeniable. She replayed the moment over and over in her mind, wondering if there had been a better way to handle it. Eventually, Emily decided to share her side of the story with close friends, who encouraged her to explain her decision to Ryan directly. A few days later, she invited him to meet in a quiet park where they could talk without the prying eyes of a crowd. As they sat on a bench beneath a tree, Emily opened up about her feelings. "Ryan, I never wanted to hurt you," she began, her voice heavy with emotion. "But I couldn't say yes to something I wasn't sure about. It wouldn't have been fair to either of us." She explained that she had been struggling with personal doubts and unresolved questions about her own identity and future. Emily revealed that she had been feeling immense pressure, not just from Ryan, but from society's expectations about what their relationship should look like. "I felt like I was losing myself," she admitted, "and I didn't want to commit to something as important as marriage until I was sure of who I am and what I want." Ryan listened in silence, his emotions raw, but his expression softening as she spoke. He realized that her decision, though painful, had been an act of honesty and self-awareness. Emily's refusal wasn't about rejecting him as a person. It was about giving herself the space to grow and ensuring that any future commitment would be built on a solid foundation. Through their conversation, Ryan began to understand the depth of Emily's struggle. Her courage to speak her truth, even in such a public and vulnerable setting, reflected the strength of her character. While he still felt hurt, he couldn't help but admire her honesty. "I wish I had known how you were feeling earlier," he said quietly. "Maybe I could have done things differently." Emily nodded. "I should have told you sooner," she replied. "I didn't want to disappoint you. But I realize now that hiding how I felt only made things worse." Their conversation, though bittersweet, was a step toward healing. It allowed both of them to see each other's perspectives and acknowledge the complexities of their relationship. For Emily, it was a chance to share her truth without fear. For Ryan, it was an opportunity to reflect on the importance of understanding his partner's needs. In the days and weeks following the stadium proposal, Ryan found himself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. Initially, the sting of rejection consumed him. The moment played on a loop in his mind, Emily's hesitant expression, her trembling words, and the crowd's stunned silence. It felt like a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. But as time passed and the chaos settled, Ryan began to look inward, reflecting not only on the proposal itself, but on his role in their relationship. The public nature of the proposal had left Ryan feeling humiliated, but he realized that his embarrassment wasn't the core issue. What hurt most was the realization that he had misjudged Emily's feelings and needs. Ryan had always prided himself on being a thoughtful partner, but the proposal made it clear that he hadn't truly considered what Emily would want. "I thought I was giving her the perfect moment," he confided to a friend, "but I didn't stop to think if it was her perfect moment." Ryan began to reflect on their relationship more deeply, recognizing moments where he may have prioritized his own vision of romance over Emily's comfort. He thought about the times she seemed overwhelmed by his grand gestures, the way she hesitated at large social events, and her subtle hints about preferring quieter, more intimate experiences. Looking back, he realized these signs had always been there. He just hadn't paid enough attention. The proposal also forced Ryan to confront his own expectations about love and commitment. For him, the act of proposing was a way to solidify their bond, to take the next step toward building a life together. But he now understood that timing and readiness were just as important as love itself. You can't rush someone's journey, he reflected. Marriage is supposed to be forever, and it has to happen when both people are truly ready. Although the pain of rejection lingered, Ryan began to appreciate Emily's honesty. Her decision to speak her truth, even in such a vulnerable and public setting, was an act of courage. It would have been easier for her to say yes and deal with her doubts later, but she chose to protect both of them from a future built on uncertainty. That realization, though difficult to accept, helped Ryan begin the process of healing. As he reflected, Ryan also gained a deeper understanding of himself. He realized that his desire for a grand public proposal stemmed in part from his own insecurities. The cheers of the crowd, the validation from strangers, it had all been a way to prove to himself that he was worthy of love. "I wanted everyone to see how much I loved her," he admitted, "but I think I also wanted to prove something to myself, and that wasn't fair to Emily." The experience taught Ryan an important lesson about listening and communication in relationships. He resolved to become a better partner, not just for Emily, but for anyone he might be with in the future. "Love isn't about big gestures or proving something to the world," he concluded. "It's about understanding the person you're with, respecting their needs, and growing together." Unsurprisingly, the dramatic stadium proposal quickly went viral. Within hours, videos of the moment flooded social media platforms, garnering millions of views and sparking heated debates. The footage of Emily's emotional rejection and Ryan's heartbroken expression became a cultural moment, dissected by online commentators, news outlets, and even relationship experts. Public opinion was divided. Some people sympathized with Emily, praising her honesty and courage in speaking her truth, even under immense pressure. "It's better to say no now than to regret it later," one user commented on a viral clip. Others criticized her for rejecting Ryan in such a public setting, arguing that she could have waited until they were in private. "She humiliated him in front of thousands of people," another commenter wrote. "That's just cruel." The debate spilled over into broader discussions about relationships, proposals, and the pressure to conform to societal expectations. Relationship experts weighed in on the importance of communication and understanding in partnerships, using the incident as a teachable moment. This proposal highlights the need for couples to have open conversations about their future before taking big steps. One expert said during a televised segment, "The internet, being the internet, also turned the moment into a meme. Screenshots of Ryan's stunned face and Emily's emotional expression were paired with captions ranging from humorous to heartfelt. Some memes joked about the dangers of public proposals, while others took a more serious tone, urging people to think carefully before making grand gestures." Despite the backlash and jokes, the viral attention also brought unexpected positives. Emily received messages of support from people who related to her experience, many of whom shared their own stories of struggling with societal pressure to conform to traditional relationship milestones. Ryan, too, received messages from strangers offering words of encouragement and reminding him that rejection wasn't a reflection of his worth. The viral nature of the story made it impossible for the couple to escape the spotlight, but it also created a platform for important conversations. The incident became a symbol of the complexities of modern relationships, highlighting the need for empathy, communication, and mutual respect. In the weeks and months after the proposal, both Ryan and Emily took time to process what had happened. Their decision to part ways, though painful, ultimately felt like the right choice for both of them. They realized that while they cared deeply for each other, their relationship was built on different expectations and visions for the future. For Emily, the experience reaffirmed the importance of staying true to herself. Rejecting Ryan's proposal had been one of the hardest things she had ever done, but it also marked a turning point in her journey towards self-discovery. She learned to prioritize her own needs and to be honest about her feelings, even when it was uncomfortable. For Ryan, the proposal was a humbling experience that forced him to grow. He came to understand that love isn't about grand gestures or public validation. It's about connection, understanding, and building a foundation based on mutual respect. The incident taught him the value of listening to his partner and ensuring that big decisions were made collaboratively, not unilaterally. Their story became a powerful lesson for others, serving as a reminder that love is about more than just romance and passion. It's about compatibility, timing, and the ability to navigate life's challenges together. The viral moment, though painful for both of them, sparked conversations that helped countless others reflect on their own relationships. Ultimately, the stadium proposal was not the fairy tale ending Ryan had envisioned, but it was a turning point that helped both him and Emily grow. It reminded everyone watching that love, at its core, is about understanding and honoring the person you're with, not just in grand moments, but in the quiet, everyday choices that define a relationship.